carried into three-quarter time? What fell over in the last quarter?
Yeah, it's just so frustrating that we're in the contest and lose by 7 goals when it's a 3-point margin at three-quarter time is really disappointing. The most significant message: you got to play 4 quarters, boys. You can't just play 3. They played a really attacking brand of footy in the third quarter, so we were maybe a little bit lucky that it was only a 3-point margin at three-quarter time, because they played the super third quarter and changed the tone of the game, to their credit. They just got on top, particularly centre bounce and clearance in the last quarter, and where that had been a part of the game that had been strong for us up until that point in time. They got on top in that space, and the ease of which the way the ball moved in the last part of the game was disappointing for us. But we've said right from the get go, how many games can we be in at three-quarter time, and unfortunately it nearly seemed like we've done a good job to do that, so we'll just put the cue in the rack. It's just so disappointing that we fell away in the last part of the game.
How big a setback is that, just given how good you've been the last few weeks? You've shown real signs of life, and that first half was, you were doing pretty well, and just to have that drop off.
Yeah, well, that was that's disappointing, but they're a good side. They had a lot of their important players out of their side too, which is testament to them as a club in terms of the way they play their system and their game plan. So I'm sure Fly will be enormously pleased with the one soldier out, another one in to replace him, and they've done that particularly well for a long time. They've got good depth, but the depth is all about playing their roles and knowing their system, and they do that particularly well. And and they're the benchmark of the comp. So they're sitting on top of the ladder, I think, aren't they? On top, yeah. So there's parts of that where we say to ourselves, well, irrespective of the personnel that they had, what we're playing against was Collingwood's system tonight rather than necessarily their personnel, and we're good enough to be in the contest three-quarter time. Disappointing that we couldn't compete with them in the last part of the game, but the pleasing part is at least we gave ourselves a chance.
You did really well against Nick Daicos in that first half. Is there any stopping him when he just decides it's time to put the game on his back, and what he did in that second half? Yeah,
he's a special player, and through some of our good play and our control of the ball and some work around stoppage that denied him to have the same sort of impact. But once they started to move the ball a little bit quicker, change some angles, he was able to have influence, and then in the last quarter he was the superior player on the ground, really. So that's his capability, and we did a good job to curtail his influence in the first half, but couldn't do it in the second.
You've seen a lot of players in your time, had a lot under you that are absolute superstars. Where does he sort of rank in terms of that, whether it be by teammate assistance or just pure dominance?
For his age, I'm not sure I've seen a player come in and make as big an impact in his first couple of years and then maintain that high standard. He's what is he, 21 or 22? A little bit scary, thinking he might still play for another dozen years. Pretty special footballer. His brother's not too bad as well.
When they made some late changes and lost Maynard in the first quarter, does that give you some hope, or do you just treat it as you're playing the Collingwood system?
Collingwood system, yeah. And that's why they'd be enormously pleased. One man down, just replace him with another one. Come in and do the role, and their depth and understanding and the spirit that they drive from that has been first class. That's why they've been premiers a couple of years ago, and they're going to be pretty hard to stop this year.
So how do you then turn around your last quarters? Is there something you can do as a coach sort of
Yeah, well, there's something we do as a whole playing group and coaching group, and that's just sustain the intensity and effort for longer, and that's what comes with winning and belief. And but we just got to stick to the fundamentals of how we want to play, and we did that particularly well in the first half. Probably left some goals out on the park in the first half that we thought, if we just had a little bit more composure. But once again, the Collingwood defence forces you to make rush decisions, but we thought there were some chances that we had in the first half that should have been goals to us that may have made the margin a little bit more at half time. But you've got to take your chances against a good side, and we didn't take them as well as we could, and part of that was because of us and part of it was because of good defence by the Collingwood side. So you just know when we become a good side and a competitive unit is the day that we can play 4 quarters of that type of fundamental footy rather than 2 and a bit or 3.
How much do you compare that second quarter where you admittedly then did get the reward that you were after compared to a team that's at the peak of their powers when they turn it on, they get the full reward in the last quarter?
Yeah, and that's the measure of a good side, when you can take your chances when they're there. And the Collingwood side were able to do that. Having said that, they scored 3-8 in the third quarter. They'd be sitting there lamenting the fact that perhaps they didn't convert some of those opportunities a little bit better. So good sides hurt you on the scoreboard, and we just weren't able to do that consistently enough today.